Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight news, and reviews on a daily basis. And it's Monday, and you know what that means. It means we've got some mail. It's Mailbag Monday, and you guys have sent in some questions. But I can't just answer the questions on my own. No. I need a good panel with me. So first of all, let's kick things off with Clark. How are you today?
I'm fired up to be here. It's been a fun week of wrestling, Wrestle Dream, which turned into a Wrestle Nightmare at one point. We had some big bloodline stuff over on SmackDown. It's been fun. I'm excited to get into it. And of course, it's Mailbag Monday. Let's get right into it, Ben.
Absolutely. And also joining us, we have the head of opinions here at Wrestling Republic. How are you today, Anthony?
I'm doing all right, Ben. I mean, you could answer all the questions yourself. I don't know if anybody wants to see that, but you can in theory. No, but this is
a long 45 minutes.
Yes.
You really have to stretch some questions.
You have to stretch some stuff. Probably make excuses going. I don't know what this person is asking when it's probably somebody that you know. No, it's going to be a fun show. A lot of stacked, fun questions to talk about, and can't wait to get into on it.
Absolutely, and let's kick things off, right? Because usually, I'm not going to lie, guys, for the predictions ones, when people, ask us, what card we predicting for the pay-per-view, usually, because it's once a month, I do get somebody I know to send it in just so I have it. But this time, I haven't. Bobby Petito, shout out to him, has actually asked the question. What is going to be our full gear card predictions? Now, we are going to do a slight twist compared to how we do it for the WWE ones, purely because the AEW card is quite long usually. So we're just going to predict the main title matches. I did think title matches, although then I realized that would also be equally as long. So we're just going to go for the men's world, women's world, and of course the tag team championships. Kick us off, Clark. What are your predictions?
All right. This is full gear. So I'm excited about it. We're going to go ladies first here. We're going to go with the women's world title. And I'm just going to pull the trigger on this right away. I'm saying Mariah May and Toni Storm settle the score. No, I'm lying. It's Dr. Britt Baker because Toni Storm's happening down the road. It's Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. It's her time to challenge Mariah May. I think maybe we have some shenanigans involving the aforementioned Toni Storm. But I do not think that matchup happens at Full Gear. I think that's further down the road. So that's my first one. My second one, let's talk about the tag division. I think it's rematch time. I think Private Party proved it. I still believe it wasn't the exact same thing as the Acclaimed versus Swerve in Our Glory, but it did feel like the crowd at certain points in that matchup were fully behind Private Party. Give them their second shot. Give them the rematch. Let them go over the Young Bucks. Why not now? Why not now? Now, when it comes to the AEW World title, I think this one's probably the most obvious one. I shouldn't have really saved it for last, but it's the guy you saw in the final shot. In the final shot of Wrestle Dream, Darby Allin, against the guy that put the title in a duffel bag, Jon Moxley. And I think that's the match we see. I'm excited about it. I'm cool with it. If I'm going to throw in one extra, if I'm allowed, I do see Swerve against Bobby Lashley. Little surprise pick there.
Ooh, okay. I'd like that. I'd be down for that. What about you, Anthony? What's your predicted card?
Okay, for the world title, like Clark said, it is predictable. It's probably Darby and Mox. And considering how violent Mox has been and how much Darby likes to get hurt, and he put the title in a bag. Darby's been in a body bag before over the years. I could definitely see that's the rivalry that's going to happen out of that. The tag one, honestly, there's not much of a tag division in AEW at this point, and I don't know where their end goal is for the tag titles. Like, I don't know who's the team they're waiting to take the titles off the Bucks. I don't know if they're waiting for Kota Ibushi and Omega and do that. I don't know what they're going to do with that. So I think it's going to be a placeholder. My guess is Private Party, but it literally could be anybody. Regardless, I think the Bucks are going to retain unless it's the chosen one, whoever that's going to be. For the women's, kind of in the same situation where the tag title is. In this one, I think they go Mariah May, Toni Storm if Toni's available. If not, they're just going to go to some placeholder until Toni's available. But I would go Mariah May, Toni, assuming Toni's available.
That is another few great picks. And you guys are right. It is, it is quite obvious when it comes to a couple of matches. A lot of people are saying, like you said, Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley. And that is the obvious one. But it's not the one I'm going to go for.
Woo!
I am going to predict we are going to see Jon Moxley against the other guy who was in the ring with him, Orange Cassidy. Because the segments they've done with Orange Cassidy on their past few shows, they're building him up for something singles-wise, and I think it's to be Jon Moxley's first challenger, because I think Darby is going to be the one to dethrone Moxley, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think we're going to see the match get pushed and pushed and pushed, and I don't know how far they can push it, but I think it's going to be quite a while. But yeah, I can't see that one happening just yet. I think that is the end game, not anytime soon. So I am predicting Orange Cassidy for that one. For the women's, I'm going to agree with both of you. Mariah May versus Dr. DMD Britt Baker. No brainer. That one, I don't think there's going to be a twist with. And to your point, Anthony, with the tag team championships, it could be, anybody. Literally anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's between two people for me. And I was going to say the Outrunners, but I'm not. I'm going to say Top Flight. It might not be Top Flight, but I mean, again, it could be anyone. It's just a shot in the dark. I'll predict Top Flight. I don't think we're going to see Private Party again. But to your point, Anthony, I'm not questioning who it is going to be to dethrone them. I'm dead certain of who it's going to be to dethrone them. And it is, like you said, Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega. Kota Ibushi said today in an interview with Yuji Nagata that Kenny Omega is going to be back within the next 2 to 3 months, and he's going to be returning alongside Kota Ibushi. I mean, a little bit spoilerish from Kota Ibushi, to be brutally honest with you there.
I think he assumed we wouldn't have translators.
It was actually translated. Maybe that really was the case.
He just was like, there's no way they're going to translate this. I'm just going to say it.
I thought this was off the record.
He honestly, Kota Ibushi in interviews, he will just say anything. Like, he will just...
Which is, if you're going to have somebody that runs their mouth, you shouldn't have that person doing interviews.
Yeah, exactly. Although I think he's still technically an independent contractor who signed exclusively
Well, they're all independent contractors.
Oh, sorry, yeah, definitely. But I think it's only in the States where he has an exclusivity anyway. But it really is such a bizarre situation now. I mean, he is the Tom Holland of professional wrestling when it comes to not being able to keep his mouth shut during interviews. We do have quite a few comments here I want to get to. Firstly, we have Bobby Petito. Shout out to you, Bobby. Thank you for the question. Soul is saying Moxley versus OC. Oh, wow. I'm not the only one. Soul's predicting it too. Mariah versus Thunder Rosa and Young Bucks versus Outrunners. Me and Soul almost had the same card apart from the women's match, and I switched the tag match last second. Bobby Petito is saying, sorry, I read that one already. Numero one Superfly is saying Mariah versus Mina Shirakawa. That is the one which it could be if it isn't DMD. EVPs defend the tag belts in a gauntlet match, and John defends against either Darby or Orange Cassidy. Maybe it's not as much of a wild take as I thought, the Orange Cassidy match. I thought I was coming up with something really unique here.
I thought he was creative. Everyone's on the same page.
Yep. Everybody agrees with me. Hey, hopefully that's a good thing.
All ego, Ben Allison. Everyone's on the same page.
Soul is saying, I think we are more likely to see Darby versus Yuta. That I actually agree with. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think they're going to push Darby versus Moxley as far as they can. Some people are saying all the way to All in Texas, which is in June. I don't think they can push it that far.
I thought they don't believe in long-term booking.
Too much time.
I know, they did say that, didn't they? I don't know why you'd ever say in an interview, even if it's true that you book month to month, but hey, Tony Khan did say that. Mercedes Monet versus Chris Statlander, Bobby Batista things, and Jack Perry versus Daniel Garcia, and Mariah May versus Mina Shirakawa. So another one saying May versus Shirakawa. That makes sense. And Konosuke Takeshita versus Ricochet in a singles match too. The other one who are getting a lot of wins at the minute is the Grizzled Young Veterans, but that would be heel versus heel, so I don't think I can see it, but who knows. We have Ganesh in the comments. Hello to you. I hope you're having a great day. But we've also he's over on IG as well. But J Marlowe Joe 14 is saying Darby will win the AEW championship at All In. See, people are believing that they're going to push it that far. Do you reckon they could do that, Clark?
I mean, that'd take some time, but anything's possible. Now it makes more sense why Darby didn't end up being able to have that match against Bryan, given the circumstances. So if we're trying to work our way back to Darby Allin carrying the title, and of the pillars, I think he makes the most sense of the ones that haven't yet, then maybe. But it's a tough stretch. It would have to be more than one rivalry, and it's a big risk because you really don't know with injuries and stuff, especially with Darby's style.
Darby's been hit
but the guy is willing to do pretty much whatever.
In a matter of like 2 weeks, the man broke a foot, broke a nose, and got hit by a bus. So, I mean,
there's pretty much Teflon.
There's a lot of risk involved. What I would do is you do him against Mox. They beat him down so badly. You take him off TV. He gets to climb Everest. If he survives that, then he comes back and gets a belt.
He's got to climb Everest to get the
to your point.
Well, he wants to.
To your point, Anthony, I was about to say it. That's how they're going to delay it all the way to All in Texas.
Yes, you take him off TV.
They're going to have him versus Yuta, then invite him off TV. He's then going to do the climb Everest, and then he'll come back for All in Texas in June.
They're going to throw him in a body bag. They're going to take him off TV, and then he'll come back in a body bag.
But that's where the title's in the body bag. It's warming it up for Darby. That's what it's doing. Belt warmer.
It's not a body bag. It's a duffel.
Yeah, but they'll put Darby.
It's just a gym bag, dude.
They'll put Darby in one.
It's like you put your sneakers and your backup T-shirt.
Well, that's true. He is flexible.
Can bend him in half. But I think we just figured it out. I think we've just done Tony Khan's long-term booking.
Maybe they just put him in a suitcase, a roller bag.
Maybe that's why he didn't. No, you know what? Maybe it's like a Moxley. Maybe it was meant to be Darby retiring Danielson, but they decided to not do it. They decided to not do it because I
think it was always Moxley. I think Bryan wanted Moxley. I think it's who he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. We'll have to wait and find out. But I mean, that now I think we might have just figured it out anyway, to be honest, guys. But let's move on to the next topic. Let's move on to the next question because we do have another question, and this question is submitted by at Wrestling Chico, who is asking, who will win the NXT Women's title first, Julia or Stephanie Vaquer? Of course, the two new additions in the NXT Women's division, and both of them have their eyes on Roxanne Perez right now. Clark, you're the NXT guy right here. Who is your prediction?
This is such a fascinating question because if you'd asked me before the two debuts, and somehow I would have known that they were both going to debut, I probably would have said Julia. But truth be told, at this stage, I actually think the answer is Stephanie Vaquer. I really do. Based on the way that she was debuted, she kind of had to have Julia's back. She's looked the stronger of the two thus far, and that's hard to deny. So, yeah, if you'd have asked me this question just nearly a month ago, I would have answered the other way. But as of right now, I think it's Stephanie Vaquer. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. Both are so dang talented and have been very fun on NXT. I had a few complaints about the way the Julia match went down a few weeks ago, but everything that's happened since, I've been all for. But yeah, my answers is Stephanie Vaquer is going to win the title first.
Well, you said you can't go wrong with either of them. Well, I think it's going to be neither of them. I know it's not the question, but I think genuinely Cora Jade might be the one to do it, to dethrone Roxanne Perez.
Well, if the question is dethrone Roxanne Perez, I thought the question was who's going to win the title first.
That is what it is. That's what.
So
it is.
that's right. That's to be clear. I do believe it will be Cora Jade that wins the title from Roxanne. But of the two, Julia and Vaquer, I think either or could hold the title and eventually will. I think Stephanie first.
Really? Okay. If it is like that, which is actually what is the question is, I just messed that up quite badly. I reckon Julia. I do. Okay. I think that Julia will dethrone Roxanne Perez. Bobby Petito is saying Julia will win the NXT Championship from Roxanne Perez, and Stephanie Vaquer will win the Women's Championship during NXT Stand and Deliver in 2025. Numero One Superfly disagrees because he is picking Stephanie Vaquer to be the first one to win. I mean, Anthony, what about you? If you had to pick between the two, who are you picking?
They're both easy options to take it. I would go Vaquer because I do think at some point they're moving Roxanne up, and I think it's going to be built around Julia Vaquer and the other one that they've been advertising. I can't remember her name. With the graphics, I think she's from Mexico. I think.
That is Vaquer.
No,
no, the
one in red.
The one they've been teasing.
Delta.
Delta.
Yes. I wasn't sure if that was the name, but I have a feeling those three are going to be revolving around the title. Whether or not it's Stand and Deliver is Roxanne's last one, and maybe it's a 4-way, and they do it maybe if they stretch her out to then. But it's going to be one of the new ones that take the belt off her. I don't think it's Cora.
Bobby Petito is saying Delta is from Australia. There we
go.
Oi. By the way, no. We're not doing that. We're not doing that, Clark. That's a stolen chant from the Welsh.
Oh, here we go.
Oggy, oi. The Aussies
Still
steal
fun.
Everything.
It's fun to chant.
They steal everything. Yeah. Kobe Galanzowski says, I assume Delta is going to have an Ober-like reign with the North American title. Good shout, Kobe.
Fair.
I like that one indeed. Codwell. Meanwhile, Tiffany Soul saying Tiffany Stratton will cash in and give her belt to Nia to make her a double champion for them.
This is an AEW. They're not doing that.
Shad is saying Julia should win the NXT title first. I mean that.
You can't really go wrong with either.
No, I don't think you go wrong with either one of them, to be honest.
You really can't. I just think after the way that they were debuted, that's the only reason I'm leaning Vaquer. But you really can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I think is going to happen, guys? Not even with this, but the first topic we're talking about, because it's just coming to my head. I know what's going to happen. It's going to be Wheeler Yuta Darby Allin. Darby Allin's going to get written off, like we said, go climb Everest, like we said, come back, take on at All in Texas, John Moxley. No, John Moxley. Darby Allin's going to dethrone John Moxley. And the second he does, he's got his big moment in front of a big stadium in Texas.
And his father
Christian Cage is going to cash in on Darby and ruin it all.
Well, there we are. Doesn't his father figure live in Texas? Sting?
Turtlenecks and broken necks. How have they not sold that?
Celebrating with Sting. Super over there. Christian Cage comes in, takes them all out, cashes in, and he's the AEW champion. Best cash in since Seth Rollins.
My favorite part is you just literally were like, I'm having a moment here. I'm changing the topic back to the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in my head and I was like, it's two. I need to talk about this now.
We've exhausted this Julia and Vaquer thing. I'm back to the first one.
Nothing says you cutting the time short, going full Kevin Owens on the women's topic to go back to the other one.
Oh my God.
Hang on. I just thought of something I should have said earlier.
No, literally, I saw the time and I'm like, yeah, well, I need to drag one of the topics out. But no, you know what actually triggered it was people are still going on about it in the Instagram comments. Kobe saying that's soul booking. Well, no, here's the thing though, right? Soul booking works for AEW. How many times has Soul predicted something like 9 months out in AEW?
By the way, we're giving Soul booking too much credit. How does he get his own brand of booking?
Ben, how well does that booking work out? The attendance and ratings are going down, so maybe the booking is not the smart idea on this one.
Oh, I'm not saying it is a smart idea. I'm predicting what they should do. If I was them, Ospreay should be the next champion. I wouldn't put the title on Darby, but I think they're going to. It's not what I would do, but I think it's what they will do.
Maybe it's going to be Vince Russo. again.
Maybe they need to bring him
It'll
back.
be on a poll.
Yeah, multi-time world champion in multiple promotions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you bring him in, but Collision. Just have Crash TV on Collision every Saturday night.
It's built for him.
Saturday night's all right for gimmick matches, but back to this. Back to summarize this question. Julia Vaquer, like you said, Clark. Either one of them would be fantastic. Both of them we want to see more of. Both of them are making a huge splash in NXT. Delta, I'm excited for too. I'm going Julia. You guys are going Vaquer. We'll have to wait and see. But something which you will not have to wait and see is anything from Progress Wrestling, or for that matter, most things from Defy Wrestling. Why? Because they're all on Demand Progress. Now, if you guys unsubscribe to Demand Progress, let me tell you a little bit about it. Basically, it's the streaming service for the big UK indie promotion called Progress Wrestling, plus Defy Wrestling, plus more such as TNT Extreme Wrestling, plus a variety of other promotions from around the globe. I say it every week, but it is genuinely true. It is my favorite streaming service for professional wrestling, right? Obviously, WWE is now on Netflix / Peacock, but in terms of just a wrestling streaming service, for me, my favorite is Demand Progress Plus. And we have a special code for you. If you guys use code What's Progress 1, you get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and more. And that is just for our followers. So make sure you guys use that, get the discount. It's a great streaming service. Yeah, and we got a comment over on Instagram from It's Real to us saying that he loves the page and our work. Keep it up. Thank you so much. We really, really do appreciate that. But now let's move on, because we've spoken about this a lot in recent weeks, right? And every time we've spoken about it, it's come from one man. And that one man is numero one Superfly, Jose99. And again, it's from him. He's now asking, is Shane behind the BCC? And I think this might be the last we talk about this for a while, unless something does happen, which makes us think it could happen in a bit more detail. But we spoke previously about whether or not he'd come in or not. But Anthony, I don't think I've explicitly asked you on this show if you think Shane McMahon could be behind the BCC. Of course, we saw that Jon Moxley promo right at the start, where he said, this isn't your company anymore, to Tony Schiavone. And everybody right away said, Shane McMahon's coming in. But Anthony, do you think Shane McMahon's coming in?
This is where I end up burning the house down. With this, I had wrote about this months ago when the Elite were trying to do the takeover, and I said Shane should have been behind it. They didn't do that. That was a horrible storyline that had no stakes whatsoever, never went anywhere because Tony Khan refused to, or wouldn't get on air, whatever the story was. After the neck brace thing, he just kind of gave up on an on-screen character role. And there was no stakes. You had two major matches. There were no stakes. And what came of it? The problem with this BCC thing is, if the same thing happens again and Tony Khan's not on TV trying to defend his company, what is the point? What are they doing? Like, what's the incentive? The only thing that works if there's an authority figure to go against them, and Christopher Daniels ain't that person. So what are you going to do with it? Who are you going to have go against them? Because the two previous times you've tried this, you didn't have a true team elite, team AEW to go against the Elite. The other problem you have is this. Out of the Vince McMahon documentary, the only one that came out with even the slightest bit of sympathy was Shane. Shane's going to get cheered when he comes out. So if these guys are taking over and they're getting cheered because of Shane, what does that do for AEW? Because now they want the bad guys to take over. This is the same problem WCW had with the NWO, where they became popular and the WCW got booed. I think if it happens, the booking's not going to be able to support this to make this work. And that's a shame, because it could work if you had solid booking behind it. But I think they have their hands full with the MJF Adam Cole disaster where they've switched positions. I don't see this working out. It could happen. I just think it's going to fail miserably.
Do you know what, Anthony? I agree with you. I not to be completely negative, but you are right. The Elite storyline it was such a missed opportunity. It had the potential to be the best storyline in the history of that promotion, or at least up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they completely botched it. Like
Yes.
there was no ending. I said it, when they were doing the blood and guts. I said, firstly, this is too early. Secondly, there's no real stakes here. I mean, it made no sense to me.
There was no true team AEW. Tony Khan was not on air. It was ridiculous because you made Christopher Daniels an EVP. Well, he can't outweigh the Bucks because they're both EVPs and have 2 votes. And Tony Khan's backstage. We see him. Like, why do you have EVPs? You're running the company. None of it made any sense. And that's going to be the same problem here unless Tony changes his mind and actually does an on-screen thing.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think that was a issue, but I don't think that was the issue, right? Because I think the storyline could still have succeeded with Christopher Daniels in charge, saying, Tony Khan's at home recovering from the broken neck if they did that. But they just didn't give it any stakes.
It would have worked if Tony Khan wasn't physically seen on TV multiple times during this. Like that works.
That's a good point as well. That is a good point. But we got a few comments here. Again, It's Real to Us is saying that he would love to see Shane in AEW. And Shane, because of the in stock, he's saying could get a big pop now. I mean, that's true. I said it coming out of that documentary. He was the only guy, really, who came across looking good out of it.
Honestly, Shane's always been the most beloved member of the family.
I still maintain it's not the worst idea if you're going to execute this, that it's not that Shane's behind the BCC. It's that the BCC is ahead of Shane because they're worried about him, and that's why they're upset. And if you're going to debut him and he's going to get a pop anyway, then they're the bad guys already. And maybe he partners with Tony Khan. Maybe he partners with somebody else.
You said it the other day.
I don't hate it at all. I sincerely do not.
It's too complicated.
I don't think it is.
That's right up their alley, though.
And
I don't think it is.
Their programming is too complicated already.
How is it too complicated? How is it too complicated if Shane comes in?
The BCC took out Bryan Danielson because they knew Shane
and then the BCC starts screaming. They start screaming at the fans about, we told you this was going to happen. We told you this was going to happen, which makes Shane a bigger baby face, right? Like, exactly. They hinted at it. And then you have Danielson, who can come back on screen as actually being in cahoots with Shane in that whole thing. He was the whole time.
Welcome to Collision.
He can't
Live.
wrestle, but he can.
Oh gosh.
It makes way more sense than Shane's in charge of the BCC by a lot.
Both don't make any sense.
Either way, it's not going to work.
But I mean, no, Clark. Oh,
it makes way more sense. It does.
Don't make them have a SmackDown Live. Where's Soraya going to be with them too? We're going to have Shane McMahon, Bryan Danielson, and Soraya. That's why they're giving her.
That's why you got Shafir as the perfect rival already.
You do realize
all the matches book themselves.
You do realize they have everybody from WWE backstage except Booker and Punk. Like, they have the entire crew to do that too.
Oh no!
I mean, I think you guys are. It doesn't make sense. Well, which would you rather? Are you just saying Shane should never be in AEW?
I think.
I'm not saying
that.
I
think the storyline would have.
But you think the storyline should be that he's in charge of the BCC?
I think the storyline should just be that he's replaces Adam Pearce 2.0 and becomes the GM.
But Adam Pearce doesn't work for AEW.
He means Christopher Daniels.
No, I mean Adam Pearce 2.0.
Just be Adam Pearce.
Mr. CD. Well, that's what he's doing. He's wearing the old Adam Pearce attires now too.
I think the opportunity for Shane to come in would have been with the Elite.
No, Christopher Daniels. He wore a suit which Adam Pearce.
What do you think Shane should do?
He should replace Christopher Daniels and be the AEW GM. Not like be a heel character. Just Tony Khan says, here's the new GM. And there we are. And I don't want it to be a big story because I think like Anthony said, I don't think any of the big stories will work because the fact that they messed up the Young Bucks one so much, which was meant to be the same thing as whatever they would have done pretty much.
Okay.
I just don't want a story. Just have him as the GM. And have him maybe do some booking backstage.
Did you repeat that again? Did you say I don't want a story? You're like, I just want wrestling? That would be on brand for AEW.
No. I want wrestling on screen, but I'm saying I don't think him being there needs to be some big story. I think you just have him come in as the new champ.
So
maybe
they should downplay
maybe
it?
they restart. Not restart because they've not really gotten rid of it. Maybe over the next few weeks, the EVPs, especially now John Moxley, has taken over the product as well, and we know John Moxley likes the Young Bucks and the Elite. We've seen it on screen. Maybe Shane McMahon comes in to try and settle everything, to calm everything down, and he's working against the Young Bucks for Tony Khan. That makes a bit more sense.
Honestly, the only way this could work, in all seriousness, and to make something out of this, is the Bucks and Shane are behind BCC. It's one big stable taking over AEW. Then you might be able to. Then you might be able to actually do something. Then you might actually be able to.
I think we might be approaching WCW 2000.
But that's the only thing that would work here, because you get a real team AEW. Try to resurrect this thing and do it right, because they crapped the bed twice for this thing. You have a chance for a third strike, and that's the only way you could make this work. Honestly.
I think the bed's already dirtier than the dirt sheets themselves. To be honest with you, I think it's true. I think there's going to need to buy a new bed.
It's really...
But we have a few comments. As number one Superfly saying, Shane McMahon will not only be the mastermind, but he will have a contract to tell the world the name on the contract does say McMahon. However, the contract says, Shane McMahon, I now own AEW. Bobby Petito, just like me, is in trouble. Actually, I do think Shane McMahon's coming in, but I don't know if he'll be on screen. Meanwhile, Soul's dropping some big news. He's saying Konosuke Takeshita will be taking on Josh Alexander, yes, please, at Maple Leaf Pro's debut show for the AEW International Championship. I will have a slice of that, and I will have seconds. That's going to be a banger. Absolutely will be. J Malo Joe 14 is saying Shane as a GM seems safe. Yeah, that's why I think that it's a safe option. Chuck 05251979 says, yes, they need to buy a new bed. There we are then, guys. That's settled. Let's move on to the next topic, shall we? Let's talk. Oh no, we're talking more about Tony Khan now. Right, okay, so basically, if you guys don't know, Ricky Starks did a signing over the weekend, and in the signing, he said that he wants to be wrestling. He doesn't know why he's not wrestling, and he's hoping that he's going to be wrestling very, very soon. Very much suggesting he was leaving the company at the end when somebody said WWE, and he laughed. But it was, a bit of a telling laugh. So, the question here is, should Tony Khan keep a talent off TV if he knows they're going to go to WWE when they leave, if he's planning to not use them, or should he just let them go? I understand if they're a big name, if there's somebody who's going to be a needle mover. Basically, a Bryan Danielson, a John Moxley, somebody of that caliber, even a Kenny Omega, right? Or Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland, those types of guys. But Ricky Starks, I don't think he's a big enough name to be like, okay, well, let's not use him and let's not let him go. Let's just keep him in catering. In fact, not even catering, let's just keep him at home. And let's have him not do anything so he can't go to WWE. I don't think that's the move, to be honest with you. I don't think it makes AEW look like the bad guys, and it's not worth it. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, if they're a big enough name, do it. But if they're not a big enough name, me personally, I don't think there's a point in doing it. I really, really don't. Because maybe it would help WWE, but it wouldn't help them enough. Plus, they keep saying they're not in competition with each other. They blatantly are, but let's be real. I don't think Ricky Starks is going to be the difference there. Anthony, what's your thoughts on this?
This is one of those things where I like Ricky Starks a lot. But like you said, he's not a needle mover. This isn't CM Punk coming in. This is not Cody Rhodes coming in. This is not that. It's been a long time since he's not been on TV. And I wonder, when I look at this, of going, all right, where's your incentive on not putting him on TV and not having him put other talent over? If he wants to get out, fine. But is he refusing to come to TV? Is he in breach of his contract? Or are you just not using him? And I know he was on that High Spots Auctions interview thing where you're signing autographs. I've bought from them before, so I know how that works. It's so blatantly obvious that he's WWE bound. Matter of fact, Ben, I think you and I were on a show with Chaos, and it was predictions for 2024. And my safe prediction was that even Stevie Wonder could see that Ricky Starks wants out and wants to go to WWE. It's so obvious But at this point, it's like, I don't know how much longer his contract is. Danhausen's in the same boat. Danhausen's not on AEW TV, but they're at least releasing merch and he's appearing on other shows. Ricky's not being used at all. So I don't know if the mentality is you would just want to pay him to sit at home, to think you're hurting his stock. He's going to get a pop when he comes to WWE. It's not Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania 38 return. It's not Jade. It's not that. But, I don't get the logic. If he doesn't want to be there, you don't want him there, you don't want to use him, why waste the money? End it with at least some goodwill. And then down the road, if he's a free agent, he's a bigger star in WWE, then, there's no bad blood there. You could kind of try to make a run for him if you wanted. Right now, the way you're treating him, he's probably not going to come back. And the same thing's going to happen with the Lucha Bros too. You got to be wise with this. I understand protecting your investment when it's a major star, but Ricky's not MJF. He's not Darby. He's not any of these Hangman. He's not these ones that would really make a huge bit of difference. So I don't understand holding him hostage or not using him. I don't get it.
You mentioned it right there. You briefly acknowledged it, right? And dirt alert, guys. Dirt sheet disclaimer might be completely false. But according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, they said, he said a couple of weeks ago, again, reliability's up in the air, whatever. But he said that Rey Fenix's contract has been extended by nearly a year because they got whiff of a potential debut in WWE. And I mean, if that's true, that's another case of it. Like, if you're not going to use someone, they're sitting at home, their contract's about to expire, unless they're a big, big name, you can't do it. I understand the argument of, well, if you do it with some people, you've got to do it with everyone. It's not true. It's not true at all. No. It's real to us as saying he's talent, use his talent while you can. Mm-hmm. That's true, right? And if they're using him and he's like, I'm not going to work, then fair enough. Keep him at home, don't let him out. That's a completely different matter. But from our understanding, and from what he's saying at least, he wants to work. He wants to be there, right? Mm-hmm. And I think using a talent, if they're willing to work, that makes a lot of sense. Number one Superfly saying, if Tony Khan is not going to use Ricky Starks, just let him go. He's too talented to be on the sidelines 100%. Bobby Petito saying, if Ricky Starks goes to a company, I think another company, he goes to WWE or TNA. Him in TNA, I can't see it happening, but he would be a brilliant fit there. He would be, honestly, like maybe the face of the company. Wouldn't be the world's worst idea, if I'm being honest, but I can't see it.
I think he goes to NXT first. Honestly, yeah. I don't think he goes to WWE directly.
Yeah, no, I agree. NXT, I think he could be a star in NXT main roster. We'll have to wait and see. Could well have an LA like trajectory. But Clark, I want to get your thoughts on this entire situation, right? If Tony Khan's, got a talent, their contract's coming up, he doesn't want to use them, should he let them go?
This one is difficult to me because I really hate speculating, especially when it's people's livelihoods when it comes to their contract situation. And I love both sides. I love Ricky Starks as a performer and as an athlete, and I love AEW as a promotion. So I don't necessarily want to pick sides on this one because I don't think it's that simple. To me, there's a lot of variables at play. For example, if he has a guaranteed contract, releasing him from that and then paying him for 6 months and allowing him the opportunity to go to another company would just be bad business. Also, if you set the precedent that the lower level talent can ask for their release, get out of their contract, but the upper echelon cannot, that is not a great look from a leadership standpoint. And that I don't think is a good idea or a good way to look at it when it comes to business. It should be about the same for all of it. And if you signed a contract for a certain length of time and the money is guaranteed, you're getting paid anyway, whether you're appearing or not, there's not much room to complain. While I would love to see Ricky Starks on television, if that is the case, and this is hypothetical, just like many of the other things we've spoken about in this conversation. But if that is the case, then I understand very much not releasing him from his contract because you'd still have to pay it out if the money is already guaranteed through the length of his contract. If there's a buyout clause, which would be the only other explanation, but there isn't one where AEW doesn't owe him any more money for the length that he signed or anything like that. That would not make sense.
Yeah, in both
you could just
WWE
cut
and
ties.
AEW, they have release clauses, so they can actually release them anytime and not have to pay them any additional money.
But wouldn't there normally be clauses where there needs to be a legitimate reason? So if he asked
No,
for his release,
it doesn't. But they have to be paid for 90 extra
and we know
days.
that for
So
sure.
It's 90 days, yes. 90 days, but you don't get paid.
Well,
any
90
additional,
days is
yeah.
still 90 days of paying somebody.
That's true. That's true. But they can't
It's
work
still
for any
exactly
other
to
company
my
during
point.
that time.
It's still 90 more days of the contract extended by releasing them. Doesn't really make sense. It probably ends up being about the same, mind you. If the contract's that close to expiring, I don't know how long of a deal he signed. But
it depends on the length. Yeah.
But that's part of the deal, is like, I don't necessarily want to pick a side here. I would love to see Ricky Starks performing, whether it be on AEW, NXT, or the WWE main roster. It doesn't matter to me. I would love to see that, and I'd love to see AEW figure it out with him too, if possible. Whatever it is, I'd like to see a solution. But I hate when it's people's livelihoods, and it's also like, you can see both sides on this one. He isn't. You mentioned a bunch of names that he isn't. But at the same time, he's a big enough name. He's a big enough deal. And obviously he hasn't been on TV for some reason or another. We haven't gotten a specific reason. We've only really heard one side of it. Nobody's come out on the AEW side and said, this is why we're not booking him either.
That's true.
And there's multiple sides to stories like that. And I just don't want to sit here and like start speculating on who's super wrong and who's super right. It's probably closer to the middle. There's probably, issues when it comes to both sides. And that's how we ended up in a place like we are. And I would just like to see it be resolved and wish the best on both sides, whether it be Ricky Starks or AEW. That's my thoughts on it.
You are 1,000% right in the fact of, at this point, we don't know when his contract's up, right? We know it's up this year because he said that, but we don't know when this year. Sorry, I think he said early next year, isn't it? But it's still either said late this year, early next year. But either way, that's around 90 days, Clark. So that's a good point at this point. But the fact is, he's been off TV for nearly a year now.
I don't think
during that time you decided
he did appear in the spring. He did appear in the spring once.
So he's still he's been off TV at least 6 months.
But he's been at least a half a year. I don't think it's been a full year.
I'll find out right now.
I could be wrong, but
I'll find out. But I mean, sorry. Yes, you are right, Clark. You are right. He had a match in February. So
all right. So yeah,
it's not a million miles.
It's more than 6 months.
It's been a long time, but I just
I think at that point, if you're like, well, I think they go into WWE, then I think
are we sure that that's why? Is there not another issue
we don't
backstage
know.
or something?
There could well be. We haven't heard that side to your point.
Here's the thing: if that is his intention to leave, and they know he wants to leave, then why aren't you putting him on TV to put your own talent over on the way out? Like, why are you just having him?
He may not agree to do it. He may say,
"Yeah, but he's got a contract, and isn't that a breach of a contract at that point?"
Well, it would. Yes, it would.
Unless he had full
contract. Yeah,
unless he had open creative control,
which nobody in the company does.
Right.
I mean, well, it's very interesting. But to your point, like, we've only heard one side of the story. And there are two sides to every story.
Yeah,
so maybe
and I'm
there's
not knocking
something
Ricky Starks because I'm a fan of Ricky. To be very clear, like, I'm a big fan, but we don't know the full details, so I don't want to sit here and bury one side. And you know what I mean? I bet I bet there were some wrongs on both sides, and that happens a lot of times in business and in situations like this, right? Like, AEW is not perfect on this. I bet Ricky wasn't perfect when it came to this situation and handling it.
I agree with you. It's entirely possible that they threw him ideas and it doesn't work for me, and then they went, well, fine, just go.
It doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah.
In which case, by the way, I
mean, I don't know. This is all just
do a job. Like I said that as well in my original thing. That's fine. But to just end it, Kobe, I did see your initial comment. I was waiting to read it out to end the show, right? He is saying it's an entirely tough situation because we do not know everything. This is all but absolute. And on that note, guys, that does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow to talk to you guys about Monday Night Raw. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you for commenting. Thank you to Anthony. Thank you to Clark. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.